Hello, good morning, afternoon or good evening, depending on what time you are watching this video. Okay, this is going to be the first video of a walking talking mock for the Edexcel IGCSE qualification. This particular paper is for the January 2020 series, and we're looking at the R paper and paper 2. This video is going to be split into 9 different sections, 9 different videos. This video we are going to, the first 3 videos in fact, we are going to look at the shorter questions. So it's all the questions with the exception of the 6 mark, the 9 mark and the 12 mark questions. And I've just split this into 3 videos, as you can see there. So this video is going to be about question 1 and then A, B, C, D, E, F and G. Okay. And then after that, videos 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, we will look at the 3 6 mark questions, the 2 9 mark questions, and the 12 mark question as well. Okay, so for this video we are going to look at all the short questions which are contained within question 1. Okay, so let's go to the exam paper. Just so you know, I'm going to flick between the exam paper and I may refer to the mark scheme as well. So let's start off then with a nice little multiple choice question here. What is calculated by using the consumer price index? So what is calculated by using the consumer price index? Well, the consumer price index is used to calculate the inflation rate. So the answer is B. Let's just do a little bit of revision here. There are 2 ways in which the inflation can be measured. That is RPI, which is the retail price index, and as we just said, CPI, which is the consumer price index. Now, it's really important that you understand the difference between the two, and the difference between the two is that the retail price index includes housing costs such as council tax and mortgage interest payments. And CPI excludes housing costs. Okay. Next question, B. The sale or transfer of public sector assets to the private sector is known as, well, this is known as privatisation. Okay, so a little bit of revision then. The mixed economy, the United Kingdom has a mixed economy. They have a public sector and a private sector. If you remember, the public sector is 100% owned and managed by the government, and the private sector is 100% owned and managed by private individuals and firms. So when the government sells one of its organisations to the private sector, this is known as privatisation. Okay, the next question. What is meant by the term boom? Well, boom is one of the 4 sections of one of the 4 categories on an economic cycle. So here's a picture of the economic cycle, and you can see boom is one of the 4 stages. The others are recession, downturn and recovery. You can see that this line here in the middle is measured using GDP. Okay, so how are we going to define the term boom? What is meant by boom is only worth 2 marks. So you could start off by saying boom is one of the 4 phases of the economic cycle, and that will get you 1 mark, but we need a little bit more information here to get the 2nd mark. So you can say this is when GDP is at its highest to get the second mark. Okay, let's just refer back to the mark scheme. And you can see the mark scheme has something very similar there. The mark scheme says a phase in the economic cycle for 1 mark with the highest levels of economic activity, which is the same as saying when GDP is at its highest. And it also says there / with the highest levels of employment. Well, if GDP is high, that means the demand for goods and services is high. Therefore, firms need more people to make the goods and services. So an answer along those lines would be sufficient and will enable you to achieve the 2 marks. Okay, so moving on to the next question. That's an interesting question. What is meant by the term shoe leather costs? Well, shoe leather costs is all about inflation, and it's a characteristic of an increase in inflation. So let's just remind ourselves what inflation is. Inflation is the average increase in the price levels of goods and services. Okay, so if price levels increase, consumers and firms will respond by searching for cheaper prices, for the cheapest price that they can get. Remember that firms are trying to maximise their profits. They want to spend as little money as possible. So and consumers as well have budgets to manage. Consumers only have a limited amount of disposable income. So they will search for the cheapest prices available. And by searching, it means that they are going from shop to shop, and therefore that there would be an increase in their shoe leather cost because they're going to be using their shoes more in order to search for cheaper prices, and this is going to be detrimental to the quality of their shoe. Now, this is just an economic term, and yes, in reality, people can actually search by foot looking for cheapest prices in a shopping mall, for an example. However, people may also look online for cheaper prices as well. But this would also mean that there is an increase in shoe leather costs. Okay, so we'll just go to the mark scheme and have a look at their answer there. It says the cost to firms and consumers of searching for the lowest prices when inflation or price levels are high or are increasing. Okay, and that would be your answer for that question. Okay, going back to the exam paper. Okay, the next question. Calculate the price in Indian rupees of machinery which costs $150,000 when the exchange rate is £1 to 70.66 Indian rupees. Now, you are advised to show your working out, so that's really important. Now, all you simply have to do here is to take the $150,000. Remember, we are trying to work out the price of $150,000 in Indian rupees, and then you just times it, you multiply it, by the exchange, and the